Good morning, guys. Today, Will Smith shares with us the idea of allowing fear to motivate us. So he says, let fear motivate you. And this came from his experience growing up and having opportunities. He recalls an example when he was about to begin his show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and there were a couple of gentlemen that would want to meet with him. And Will Smith hated the fact that for whatever reason, he would either come up with excuses or he would be coming up with things that would prevent him from meeting with the two gentlemen and going after what he really wanted to do because of fear. And it got to the point where Will Smith just got sick and tired of letting fear stop him. So he says that in his early life, he developed a strategy for attacking fear. And that's what we have to do. So what fear can you attack today? Have a great morning, everyone.
I recently had Tony Robbins on my main channel for the third time in an interview, and so to celebrate that, please enjoy this special video from our vault.
We think there are thoughts, so it makes it really hard to change them. And people meditate and try to not think thoughts. Show me somebody that's done that successfully, consistently. They're full of shit. Right? Everybody, the mind thinks thoughts. But here's the distinction. If I told you 100 years ago we were going to fly to the moon and back, you would have called me a lunatic. That's where the term comes from. And people still use it, and it doesn't make any sense because a lunatic is somebody who thought we'd go to the moon and back and we've done it, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where the term comes from. That's where it comes from. But if I would have told you 100 years ago that there's going to be a box in your pocket and you're going to pull this thing out, you're going to hit a couple buttons, and then it's going to capture invisible waves that are drifting around the earth and bring the waves in, and you're going to see somebody on the other side of the earth and you're going to talk to them, you're totally nuts. Thoughts are those invisible waves. And when you use your body in a certain way, if I sit like this, I'm going to tap into a different channel of those waves than if I'm sitting like this. Kind of like a TV set. If I turn one channel, it might be a comedy channel. I'm going to see a lot of laughter. Turn another one, it's a horror channel. Turn another channel, it's a romance channel. This is what changes which of those waves you touch in. So if you can start to realize that your thoughts that you think are your thoughts, there's nothing unique about your thoughts. They've been around for thousands of years. You're just tapping into them because of what you're doing with your body that makes you either fearful or passionate or courageous or whatever you're feeling. As you go in those states, you get different thoughts. So what I want people to see is that learn how to just see those thoughts go by. learn how to be entertained by those thoughts. Because I have crazy thoughts, but what I've gotten good at is going, look at that crazy thought. That's not me, that's the mind. Not your mind, because if it's you, how do you change you? Pretty hard. But I really truly know I haven't heard a thought come out of you that's original. You've called them your thoughts, but they're not. You've stolen them. They've been around forever. When you see that, it's easier to let go of them. And letting go of those thoughts is one of the ways that you free yourself. And again, the more you do it, just like a muscle, you get better and better and better. And all of a sudden, the shit that used to make you crazy or stressed out, I'm like, how many things have you worried about that never came to be? And some people, their life is good, so they worry about other people, so they're never not worried, right? So it's really just a pattern. If you want wealth, real wealth is not just money, it's emotion. It's like, what are we really after in money? You don't want money. You don't want pieces of paper with the pictures of deceased notables on it. You want what you think money will give you. You think it'll give you freedom or security or stability or love. It won't give you love. It'll get you sex. It won't get you love. Money won't, right? So really what you're after is the emotion. And so what I want people to get is the emotion they want now. And all it is a new habit. It's learning to discipline this mind, right? By realizing the mind thoughts are out there, and letting them float by and constantly coming back to what can I love about this? What can I appreciate? It's like, if you can learn to love or at least appreciate, start to enjoy the things that you used to get upset about, how much freedom would you have? How much more joy you'd have? And I know people got billions of dollars, I've coached them, who is like, holy, they live in scarcity all the time. One man, I'll never forget, he's screaming at his wife. I'm in the meeting, I'm in the house, and he's screaming at his wife because she spent some money on a bunch of outfits and stuff like that. And he's a multi-billionaire. He couldn't spend all his money in his lifetime, and then he's totally upset at his daughter who's in her 20s who spent some money too. And I'm like, I pulled him aside afterwards and I said, what do you do this for? And what do you do it for? And he's like, well, it's the principle thing. I said, no, the principle thing is, do you love these people and do you want them to have an abundant life? When you don't have one loss, but you live like you're poor, And it's like, I finally got through to him. But so many people, that's why I say money doesn't change you. Money magnifies who you are. So you want to expand the depth of who you are and free yourself from suffering by just knowing it's a pattern of thought, and you can change the pattern of thought.
One of the ways I've been disciplining my mind recently is trying to reframe anything negative and telling myself it's the best. This has been a kick I've been on for the past couple months, that whenever something bad happens, I tell myself it's the best. And so this came out of me going to ClimberCon as an event in Palm Springs, and I met up with a fan of mine, Leo, who is an awesome dude, and he was gonna film something with me. We wanted to drive out to the desert, which is about an hour outside of Palm Springs, and he met me on this insanely hot day, 90+ degrees, and he tells me, Evan, it's super hot outside. Do you still want to go for this hour-long trip out into the desert? I say, yes, let's do it, Leo. I'm pumped. Let's go. This is what I came for. I'm excited to see you. Let's do it. Then he says, well, also my air conditioning is broken and we won't have any AC for the whole trip. Like, let's do it. This is the best. Let's go. I'm down. I want to do it. Let's keep going. It's like, and we can't roll the windows down because if we're filming, it'll really ruin our audio. So we gotta sit in this car, in this van the whole time and not have any AC or windows. Yes, Leo, I want to do it. Let's go. This is the best. I want to go. Let's do it. Come on, come on. As soon as we get outside of the airport, already I'm already feeling heat. I'm a Canadian, not used to the crazy 90+ degree weather. We get into his car, and just sitting in the car for 2 seconds, I'm already sweating. I'm already feeling the heat. Like, this is amazing. This is the best. That reframe. This is the best. I'm so pumped to do it. And we start driving. And as we start driving, it gets so hot that the camera shuts down. The camera malfunctions because it got overheated. So we decided to get out on the street, on this stretch of the highway, and film the videos there. And there's barbed wire fences, and there's bottles of pee on the floor, and there's a dildo on the ground, and all of this crazy stuff happening. It's like, this is the best. This is amazing. I love it. And then we went from filming there to filming at the YouTube event, where we're in this huge room and they're giving away all sorts of free stuff. And just a dichotomy of this super negative, crazy chaos environment to this luxury one where you're getting a whole bunch of free stuff. I love both. Here's what I think. I think negativity is coming for you, right? I think I lean in on the positive. It's amazing. All of the great stuff that happens is the best too. But when the negative stuff does happen, it's not that you seek it. It's not that you're looking for it. It's not that you want to invite it into your life. But when negativity does happen, What do you do? How do you react? What do you think? I choose to discipline my mind to say, when that negativity comes, I want to react in a positive way. There's nothing neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. I want to react in a positive way. I want to see this as this is the best. This is my chance to shine. We're going to have an amazing time through this chaos. I love it. It's going to be a great experience. Well, then people say, okay, awesome, you have to sit in a sweaty car. That's the best. Okay, I get it. But what happens when there's some really big pain that happens? We're not just talking about waiting for an elevator or standing on a red light or one little thing didn't go right in your schedule that day. What happens when your business fails? What happens when you want to quit? What happens when something major happens in your life? I honestly think that that's the best too. I'm a big believer that your purpose comes from your pain. I think if I didn't struggle and suffer so much in starting my business, I wouldn't be doing this. The total lack of self-confidence and self-worth that I had in the early days of my business, in feeling like I'm putting in all this work and all this effort and nothing is working out, that is the reason why I do what I do now. My individual pain and suffering is now the reason why I'm out helping millions of people. And I think it's the same thing for you. I think your purpose comes from your pain. I think if you have not been through pain, it's really hard to have a strong purpose. If you look at the people who you look up to, who are on a mission, who have a deep purpose, they want to change the way something is done, it's because of a deep pain that they came from. And I think ultimately humans are good. I think people are good. I think you want to serve. I think when you've been through something and you've come out on the other side, you naturally want to help other people who are going through it now. I want to help entrepreneurs out so much because I still feel that 19-year-old version of me struggling and suffering, and I want to help that guy out, and I want to help you guys out. So even when you get hit with some big news, not just this little tiny, okay, you got to deal with hot weather, but big news that causes deep pain, it's still the best. If you can reframe it to say, this is the best, because getting through this, I will be able to help millions of people who are going through the same thing. So how do we apply it? I'm going to give you 2 suggestions. First off, try to reframe the negativity. Use it as an exercise right now. Just think about something negative that happened right now. Think about maybe you were standing in line at the coffee shop and the person was rude to you, or you stood in line at a red light and it was really frustrating to you. You're waiting for that elevator, or you spilled coffee all over yourself, right? It's the best. Just reframe it. Just take the negative thing that happened to you right now, today, so far, or yesterday, a negative conversation, anything, and just tell yourself, this is the best, and try to find a reason why. And get used to that reframing. Every single time something negative happens, you won't catch it all the time. But the more you practice catching it, the more you will catch it ongoing. Practice it right now. Think about that one thing, and then think about how can that be the best? And then find another one, and how can that be the best? And the next time you're feeling negative, frustrated, upset, angry, how can that be the best? If you have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning, and you're frustrated and sad and angry about yourself, if you do it, like tomorrow, wake up and do it. And the next day, do it. Get out of bed, or still suffer for the next 3 months getting out of bed. Understand, why is it the best? How is that the best? Because when you figure out how to do it, when you get out of bed, you will be able to help millions of other people who have that same problem as you. So the struggle, the fight, the effort, it's the best. And 2, think about your purpose coming from your pain. People like to avoid their pain. We want to run from our pain. We never want to remember the pain. Especially entrepreneurs, we like to lean in on the positive and the optimistic, which is amazing. But the answer is to jump head into your pain, not run away from it. You dive into it. And in there is the answer for what you should be doing with your life and your business. Write this down. What is your biggest pain? Whether it was growing up, whether it happened last year, like what are some of the most painful moments in your life? And try to remember it. And you may have a block. You may have tried to wipe it from your memory. Don't do that. That's your purpose lying in there. Write down the most painful moments in your life and then see how is that the best. Not because it happened to you, because that sucked, but how do you turn it from that negative situation into you being able to serve others? That's how it becomes the best. That painful moment that you had, how can you use that to serve other people? Write that down. Now I've got a really special bonus clip for you, but before that, question of the day, I want to know, what was your pain and how have you turned that into your purpose? How is your biggest pain in your life the best? Leave it down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I believe in you. I hope you continue to believe in yourself and whatever your one word is. Much love. I'll see you again tomorrow morning for another shot of espresso and enjoy the bonus clip.
I wake up every morning.
Espresso, keep me going.
You know, there's only a handful of primary emotions. And unfortunately, we haven't done a great job in Western culture of teaching how to feel emotions, label them, and then how to work with them. You know, I didn't have that course. I don't know if you did. Exactly. And I didn't have a course on how, you know, the basic mental skills work, how to label them and how to train them. So we haven't done a great job of doing this in the education platform. And if there's only 3 things we can train, craft, body, and mind, like why are we not training the mind? Like because the way that thoughts and emotions work, it's like a bang bang experience. They happen like right next to each other. And there's some conversation about what comes first. Is it a thought, then emotion, or is it emotion, then a thought? Most people in the field of psychology would say it's thought, then emotion. The way that I think about this is that it's like a rider and an elephant. So the rider is the thought. And then as soon as the emotion wants to run, because the thought that maybe the rider's scared, he's having scary thoughts, or sad, because he's having a lot of sad-based thoughts. When the elephant wants to go, when the emotions run, you're not controlling that thing. Your job, my job, is to be the rider, a thoughtful, aware rider of thoughts. And when we're able to be aware of our thoughts, then we can guide and negotiate our thoughts so they don't run wild. Ultimately, there's a meta-awareness that takes place where when you train awareness, and I'd like to get into that conversation with you, when you train awareness of your thoughts, emotions, body sensations, and your environment, awareness of your environment, those 4 things, we become more finely tuned so that we can choose great thoughts. We can harness our emotions. We can feel our body sensations and use them to facilitate clear thinking, creative thinking, or great output. And when we're more aware of the unfolding, unpredictable environment around us, we can course correct and adjust and pivot. And that makes all the difference in the most intense environments in the world, whether that's an emotional intensity, a vulnerability, or that is, you know, center court, whatever sporting environment that we're talking about.
If you want to see my recent interview with Tony Robbins, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
There is a regenerative revolution that's happening in medicine right now, in precision medicine. Billionaires know about it, but the average person doesn't. What pushed me over the edge recently is I had some experiences that really
Good afternoon, guys. I remember hearing a while ago that on the other side of fear is freedom. And this is so true. I have seen and felt this in my life, and I continue to experience this every single day. Even when I look at this, getting in front of the camera and sharing videos with you about my thoughts, feelings, and things that I know or feel could help you. It is not easy, but that's where determination steps in. That's where that energy, that spirit, that drive that we all have within us to face our fears and keep going every single day, choice by choice. And I can tell you, it is working. It's not easy. It's very difficult, but it's possible. And it's all about going after and attacking our fears. And on the other side of those fears is the freedom we're looking for. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
If your brain is a record of the past, and you are living by the same emotions that have defined you for the last 10 years, and you keep thinking the same thoughts that make the same chemicals, and those same chemicals drive the same thoughts, then your body, as the unconscious mind, does not know the difference between an actual experience in your life that creates an emotion and an emotion that you're creating by thought alone. And so your body is believing it's in the same past experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And your body is programmed into the past. And you can't create a new future holding on to the emotions of the past. How many people understand what I'm talking about? So then, when you react to someone or something in your life, you have a choice. That when an event changes how you feel, there's a chemical change that's taking place in your body. And most people don't think they can control their emotional reactions. And so then when you react to some coworker or some relative or somebody in traffic, the moment you react emotionally, you are altered chemically. And if you don't know how to control your emotional reaction after that event, and you allow those emotions to linger for hours or days, you know what that's called? That's called a mood. Hey, Juanito, what's wrong with you? Oh, I'm in a mood. Really? Why are you in a mood? Well, this thing happened to me 4 days ago, and I'm having one long emotional reaction. And if you keep that same refractory period going on for weeks or months, that's called a temperament. Hey, why is she so angry? I don't know. Why are you so angry? Why are you so bitter? Why are you so enchilada? Because I had this experience 7 months ago, and I'm memorizing my emotional reaction. And if you keep that same refractory period going on for years on end, that's called a personality trait. And people wear their emotions on their sleeve, and that's who they think they are. And they will talk about the past to validate why they're not creating the life that they want. So then if you wake up in the morning, Mexico City, and you are not being defined by a vision that's bigger than you, and it doesn't get you out of bed and inspire you into possibility, and you get up living from the old hardware of the past and the old emotions stored in your body, do you know what's going to happen to you? You're going to wake up and you're going to open your eyes and you're going to see the same people and go to the same places and do the exact same thing at the exact same time. And the moment you open your eyes, all of a sudden now, it's your external environment that's controlling how you think and feel. Because you have a neurological network in your brain for every person you know, every place that you go, everything that you own, everything that you do. And the moment you open your eyes and you see the same people and go to the same places and do the exact same thing at the exact same time, it's your external environment that's turning on different circuits in your brain, causing you to think equal to everything that you know. And you told me you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny. And as long as you're thinking equal to your environment, you keep creating the same life. To change, to truly change, is to think greater than your environment. To think greater than the circumstances in your life, to think greater than the conditions in your world. And every great person in history knew this. Whether it was Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, the Wright brothers, Joan of Arc. They all had a vision.
Need motivation?
Watch Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and my take on his top 10 rules to success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, carry positive energy.
I always say to people, when is the last time you sat with your heart and just worked with it? Like so that it's not contracted and afraid and protected. It takes practice to do that. And so we work with people in letting them we give them numerous opportunities to practice this over and over and over again. And sooner or later, petal by petal, it starts to bloom. And all of a sudden, there's an authentic smile on their face. And once energy meets the heart, it goes right to the brain. We did this study where we hooked up an electrocardiogram to an electroencephalogram. And an electroencephalogram is a brain mapping machine. So we measure 19 or 26 different compartments, and we're looking to see all different kind of activity in the brain. But we measured the heart along with it, and when the heart starts beating coherently, in a sense of order, like taking a big sheet, Jay, and going like that, the heart sends a wave right up to the brain. And the brain goes into these beautiful states of alpha. The heart is telling the brain it's safe to create again. It's safe to imagine. It's safe to dream of a new future. And there's the stroke volume of the heart in order, and then you see these 2 or 3 seconds of beautiful, coherent alpha. The brain is it's in that creative state. Then there's a pause, and it happens again. And it's beauty. It's a symphony. If you don't have that mechanism, you can have all the intention in the world, but there's no carrier wave. I mean, and people, when they make energy reach their heart, there's an external field that's created. It's magnetic. It's measurable, and that energy is frequency. And if that frequency is coherent, it can carry the intent or thought on a coherent brain of that future. The energy of suffering cannot carry the thought of health or wealth. It's not consistent with it. It carries a different set of thoughts. So then the training then is getting people into those heart states, because once they start trading that fear or that pain or that frustration or trying or whatever, forcing, control for gratitude, and they just let all that go. And I say to them, listen, if you can't feel gratitude, or if you can't feel love, I just want to know what you've been practicing feeling every day. Because that feeling that you're practicing is what you're always feeling. Now let's practice feeling something else. In the beginning, it's not going to be easy, but you got to keep following the formula, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. Well, when they start feeling gratitude, it's very interesting, because the emotional signature of gratitude is that something wonderful just happened to you. Something favorable is happening to you, right? So you've just received something, or you're receiving something, you say thank you. So gratitude is the ultimate state of receiving emotionally. So when you move into a state of gratitude and you open your heart, you will accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts equal to that emotional state, and you'll program your autonomic nervous system into a different destiny. You could say, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, and your body is conditioned into misery, and it's saying, no, you're not. And that thought stops right at the brainstem. It never makes it to the body, because the body is on a different program. So then, when the person starts trading that and they start opening their heart, well, their immune system gets stronger by 50%. 50% in 3 days, they start making immunoglobulins. Their body's natural defense against viruses and bacteria is 50%, not a little bit, a lot. That's one study. And so trading that, telling the body it's in the environment where it already happened. And so that's when the miracles start happening. That's when people say, I'm not doing anything. Well, of course you're not. You don't have to.
Rule number 3, feel invincible.
What are a few things we can do to support our inner environment on a daily basis?
Well, listen, the first thing and the most important thing for me is knowledge and information. Knowledge is really power, and knowledge and information about yourself should empower you. It should empower the self, right? So when we learn about the immune system and all it can do, and we say, oh my God, you mean not every virus gets to me? In fact, no. And the more you understand that, and the more you coax your immune system into love and into love. I just did this little thing on our social media where I was talking about the inner army of order and what would be the signal you would want that inner army to get. And so we created this meditation, and we said, what would invincibility feel like? Signal your body and feel invincible. How would you feel if you had an uncompromising will, that you had more energy than you could possibly imagine? Show your body what it feels like because it is that emotion of invincibility, that emotion of an uncompromising will to empower your inner world. And you have the intent of that's what it's for. Wow, get ready, because you're going to start creating a cadence and a rhythm where your body's going, whoa, what is all these new chemicals? What are all these new signals?
Right.
Hey, it's time. Hey, now all of a sudden receptor sites on the T cells go, wow, we got some new signals coming from the boss here. Let's open up all those T cell receptors. Let's go. In fact, we would love a little fight right now because we got a lot of time on our hands and we got all our receptors turned on. Oh, I mean, that would be a signal for your body. We also know that if you could just trade fear and frustration and resentment and suffering for an elevated emotion and truly open your heart again and practice doing that, you'll heal.
You'll heal.
You'll heal, because, I mean, all healings happen in the heart.
Rule number 4, be intentional.
Can you believe in a future that you can't see or experience with your senses yet, but you've thought about enough times in your mind that your brain is literally changed to look like the event has already occurred? The latest research in neuroscience says you can change your brain from living in the past to living in the future. And can you fall in love with that vision to such a degree that you come out of your resting state and change guilt or suffering into inspiration and joy and gratitude? To such a degree that your body, as the unconscious mind, does not know the difference between that external event and what you're creating internally, so that your body believes it's living in that future in the present moment, and you begin to signal new genes in new ways to change your body to look like the event has already occurred. The latest research in epigenetics says you can change your body by thought alone. Now reason this with me. If there's physical evidence in your brain and body to look like the event has already occurred, your brain and body are no longer living in the past, they're living in the future. And you will walk right into your vision. Now, most people in this audience, all of you, have done something great in your life. You all have. Now reason this. You woke up one day, or you had a wild thought out of nowhere. And that thought was a possibility in the future. Something new you wanted to experience. And the moment you started thinking about this experience, the moment you started contemplating this potential reality, you turned on a part of your brain called the frontal lobe, the crowning achievement of the human being. It's 40% of your entire brain. It is the creative center. And it has connections to all other parts of the brain. And the moment you said, what would it be like to be a leader? What would it be like to be successful? What would it be like to have this vision come true? The moment you asked that open-ended question, you turned on this part of the brain. Because the rest of the brain is just a bunch of automatic programs. And now the frontal lobe, the creative center, wakes up, and it has connections to the entire brain. It's the CEO, it's the boss, it's the symphony leader of the brain. And the moment you get creative, the frontal lobe begins to select different networks of neurons that are stored in your brain from things you've learned or experienced. And as you begin to think a what-if question, it begins to select these different networks and begins to seamlessly piece them together, and making your brain fire in new sequences and in new patterns and new combinations. And whenever you make your brain work differently, you're changing your mind. Because mind is the brain in action. Mind is the brain at work. And the moment those neurons fire in tandem, you get a picture in your mind, a hologram, a vision, an abstraction. And for those people who are passionate, that thought that they're thinking begins to create an elevated emotion. They become inspired. They feel enthusiastic, in theos, filled with God. They become passionate. They started to open their hearts. And all of a sudden, they're combining a clear intention with an elevated emotion. And it's the combination of a clear intention and an elevated emotion in our research over and over again that proves then the person now is changing fundamentally, changing biologically, changing internally. And their brain and body are moving from living in the past into living in the future.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, look for truth.
We have such compelling evidence in science with brain scans. You can make your brain work better. You can make your heart work better. You can make your immune system work better. You can make your cells go from really sick to really healthy. We've got great evidence. You can become immune to serious viruses. You can be immune to bacteria. We've got the measurements. You can lengthen your life. We have great evidence, and the people aren't monks. They're not nuns. They're not religious scholars. They're just common people. And then we have testimony of people who are the example of truth. They are the example of truth. I would rather have dinner with those people than anybody else. They know something, right? So evidence then becomes the loudest voice, right? And that's what I think what people are looking for right now. The truth is so lost in sensationalism, and the truth is so lost in emotional agreement. And so people who want to feel fear, they program themselves and accept, believe, and surrender that. People who want to be hateful, it's all there. It's all there, and it's a matrix to find the way out, right? And I think there's a door. I just think that we have to trust the innate information that comes from within us.
Rule number 6, see the greater good.
People that were traumatized from childhood, that were abused sexually, physically, emotionally, that were suicidal, that had all kinds of health conditions, they came to the edge of that emotion that kept them connected to the past. And they were ready to give up in one meditation because they never had felt an emotion like this that they could remember, that it was so intense. And they thought about all the times for the last year that they never missed a day of doing a meditation, even when they didn't feel like it, or when they wanted to quit halfway through and they didn't, they went all the way. They thought about all those times that they went to that point, and they went one more time.
Really?
And their words are always the same. And my heart blew wide open. And I look back at my entire past, and I don't want to change one thing in my past because it brought me to this present moment. And I can see my betrayers. I could see the people in my life that had a hand in this. And I have nothing but compassion for them, because now the person is no longer viewing that past from the same level of consciousness. They're viewing it from a place of love, of wholeness. And they see the greater good of all of it. And now their conditions, their health conditions, their endometriosis, their uterine tumors, I mean, whatever it is, literally disappears, and they have an incredible change in their brain chemistry. They're in love with life. They're off their meds. They're not suicidal. Why would they be? They're free. So it can happen in an instant when the heart is healed, and everybody gets the new signal. The body's out of the past. The body's no longer feeling the emotions of the past. And sometimes we got to come right up against that edge. That's the great moment.
Rule number 7, understand the immune system.
Our immune system is kind of like our rudimentary nervous system. It has cells that are mobile. and they're called plasma cells or white blood cells. And their job is an internal defense. And many of our body's plasma cells line the mucous membranes, gut, the digestive tract, all the orifices of the body, the nose, the mouth, ears. And it's a line of defense against foreign invaders and toxins. And when the immune system is facing some foreign invader, whether it be a virus, a bacteria, a mold, a fungus, some foreign agent, it is the army of plasma cells that move towards the danger and begin to attack these foreign agents. And there are cells in your immune system called T cells. And T cells are like the ninjas of the immune system. They release very powerful chemicals that can denature and break down any foreign invader. And T cells have these little trumpets that stick out on their receptor site. So picture this big circular spherical glob, and you have all these different receptors. And these T cell receptors are these long trumpet appendages. And when they come up to a virus, or they come up to a bacteria, when they come up to even a cancer cell, they notice that it is a foreign agent, and immediately this T cell receptor attaches to that foreign agent and begins to release a lot of unhealthy chemicals that begin to cause that foreign agent to die, and then memorizes that foreign agent and passes the information on to the army of the rest of the white blood cells in the body. And this is a strong immune system. And when plasma cells and white blood cells begin to function well, they release chemicals called immunoglobulins. And immunoglobulins are proteins that are in the shape of a Y. And those Y-shaped proteins are antibodies. And what they do is when the white blood cell releases an antibody, it begins to block the receptors of the foreign agent that's trying to attack the white blood cells. So when a healthy immunoglobulin is released, it suppresses the warfare, the cell receptors that are trying to attack the white blood cell. And now you have a strong defense, you have a strong immune system. And your body right now is doing that. In fact, your body is always evaluating all those foreign agents, whether it's a virus, a bacteria, or even a cancer cell. And it's working to keep the body in balance. And the immune system, a strong, healthy immune system, does that constantly, always behind the scenes of your awareness.
Rule number 8, step into the unknown.
If you give people sound information, and then they can repeat that information, they're wiring it in their brain. They're creating a new model of understanding. If you show them how to apply that information, if they do it properly, they will have some type of transformation. That transformation isn't something that causes people to feel bad or unworthy. It causes them to open their hearts. It causes them to feel joy, to feel gratitude. They feel differently. And if you're able to then create that elevated emotion and you teach people more information, they will continue to transform themselves, and that's called evolution. If you think the same thoughts always lead to the same choices. The same choices lead to the same behaviors. The same behaviors create the same experiences, and the same experiences produce the same feelings, and you're now caught in your old self. But new thoughts should lead to new choices, and new choices should lead to new behaviors. New behaviors should create new experiences, and new experiences should create new emotions, and that should inspire evolution. We say that your personality creates your personal reality. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. We could say that your personality is your state of being. So now, geniuses, if you keep thinking the same thoughts, keep demonstrating the same behaviors, keep living by the same feelings and emotions, your personal reality is going to stay exactly the same. But if you have new thoughts that lead to new choices, that demonstrate new actions, that create new experiences, that cause you to feel differently, you will begin to walk into a new future. How many people understand this? So most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. You literally have to become someone else. So, crossing the river of change, going from the old self to the new self, requires you stepping into the unknown. And if you are now in the unknown and you feel uncomfortable because you're leaving guilt behind, you leave unworthiness behind. You see, the biggest problem with most people is they want to create wealth, but they feel lack. They want a new life, but they feel unworthy. That's mind and body in opposition. And our research shows that you can teach people how to recondition their body to a new mind. And when that occurs, they begin to create very powerful things in their life.
Rule number 9, figure out your life's purpose.
What do you believe is the purpose of life overall?
To figure out the purpose of life.
Okay.
No, I really think I think the mathematics that I've looked at says there's infinite experiences to have. You will never know the end. Mm-hmm. So then, if you study any religion, I've looked at a lot of them. This concept of eternity, mm-hmm. that the soul is going to be around for eternity, mm-hmm. that's a long time. Mm-hmm. And that means you got to be okay with you for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I think it's the creation of more experiences. And I think I think we came from source, from singularity, from oneness. And we have descended down into density, fooled by our senses into separation. Mm-hmm. And every single being has a spark of oneness of the divine within them. And we got so separate that we now have our own free will to answer the question, is there more? Mm-hmm. Because if you're oneness, it gets kind of boring after a while. Like, is there anything else? Well, the moment you ask if there's anything else, you're no longer oneness. You're something other than oneness, right? And you're a different consciousness, separate from oneness. So I think then we live life, and then when we can predict the feeling of everything that can happen in our life and it gets boring and we're not impressed by anyone or anything, we ask the same question. Is there more? And that's when the soul goes, all right, well, it's been how many lifetimes you've been doing this? Okay, there's an awakening. And we ask that question, and then all of a sudden we start getting information and books and stuff and meet people, and it gets exciting, and it's how the universe works. And so we climb out of this, and I just think there's so many incredible experiences that are left in the unknown that we get to have. And then of course when the journey's over and you evolve to that point, then you take that wisdom and you say, here's what I learned. And it was scary down there. And I was like, boy, I tell a great story. And then you hang out there and you go, is there anything else besides all? And then here we go again. It just never ends. I don't know. That's my theory.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is connect to the future.
How do we brainwash ourselves in times of stress and anxiety in order to become more peaceful, loving, and successful in the future? How do we brainwash ourselves in a different way?
Sure. Well, that's what I have spent just about my whole life. Wow. I mean, the first and most important thing is that you have to understand that if 95% of who you are is a set of unconscious programs, then the first step is lighting a match in a dark place. If you want to become someone else, you got to become aware of who you are.
Yes.
That means you got to start thinking about what you've been thinking about. You got to start paying attention to how you speak. You got to be conscious. You demystify the word meditation, and the word meditation literally means become familiar with.
Yeah.
When you become so familiar with your thoughts, so aware of your emotions, so conscious of your habits that you wouldn't go unconscious to them again, now you're no longer the program, right? Mm-hmm. So getting people disentangled from that program, we found out is a formula. And when we teach people how to do certain things with their focus and opening their awareness, when we teach them how to create a very disorderly brain that has been driven by the hormones of stress into a more orderly, coherent brain, and teach them how to open their focus and practice that, they'll come up against those thoughts and they'll become so familiar with them. Listen to this. They won't believe them anymore when they come up any longer.
Wow.
And so when they hear them in their day, they'll be like, that's not going to stop me from my future. So if they're sitting there and they want to quit, just because they're sitting still, and they're not quitting, then they're developing a will that's greater than those programs. And you're breaking out of the shell. And you keep doing that, you're going to get up and do the work every day because you did it yesterday. And you're going to want to do more of that because you're getting out of your past and it feels better. And if you keep doing that and you keep feeling better every day, the question is, why wouldn't you do it every day? Because you would ultimately just feel better. And then the more whole you feel, means the more you are connected to your future. Imagine if you felt every single day, and this is what I do, work on. If I could stay connected to the emotions of my future all day long, there's no way I would be looking for when it would be happening. How could I look for when it would be happening if I feel like it's happening? I wouldn't look anymore, which means I wouldn't be separate from it. And that's when you start creating the magic, right? That's when you're in that zone. And that's when that reaffirms that personality that you're becoming. And now you don't, wake up in the morning and go, oh God, I got to create my future. No, you're going to jump out of bed because
excited.
You're not going to want that magic to end.
Good evening, guys. As we live, laugh, and love our way to infinite mind wealth, this thing called fear, it's all in our minds. This is the thing that we have to conquer. And I want to share with you a personal story as we're talking about fear today and trying to overcome our fears. And hopefully today you were able to look at one fear, stare it down, and overcome it. But I want to share with you my fears of just getting in front of the camera, my fear of public speaking. And we can laugh at it because when I look back on my journey thus far, especially in the new year, I'm amazed because even to this day, when I step in front of this camera and share my thoughts with you, it's interesting because my heart beats a little bit faster, but it quickly gets stopped. Whereas before, in the beginning, it was uncontrollable. And maybe you would never see it or know it, but I laugh at it now because I think, wow, we can defeat our fears. And I want you to as well. Have a great evening, everyone.
What do you say, ma'am, when you read in the papers that you are a determined, domineering woman?
I don't always read that. People very willing to tell me that. But I don't think I am. I'm a perfectionist with myself, but not necessarily with everybody else. And those stories arose a long time ago and have kept coming out again and again. But I don't think I am.
You feel hurt by them?
Well, obviously one does. You feel very wounded, and if it comes out, you think, oh gosh, I don't want to go out and do my engagement this morning. Nobody wants to see me. Help, panic. But you've got to push yourself out and remember that some people hopefully won't believe everything they read about you, because there's far too much about me in the newspapers, far too much. It horrifies me when there's something more important, like what goes on in a hospice, or there's been a bomb or something. They'll put me on the front page.
Need motivation?
Watch the Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Princess Diana, and my take on her top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, use your pain to help.
According to press reports, it was suggested that it was around this time things became so difficult that you actually tried to injure yourself. Is that true?
When no one listens to you, or you feel no one's listening to you, all sorts of things start to happen. For instance, you have so much pain inside yourself that you try and hurt yourself on the outside because you want help, but it's the wrong help you're asking for. People see it as crying wolf or attention seeking, and they think because you're in the media all the time, you've got enough attention, inverted commas. But I was actually crying out because I wanted to get better in order to go forward and continue my duty and my role as wife, mother, Princess of Wales. So, yes, I did inflict upon myself. I didn't like myself. I was ashamed that I couldn't cope with the pressures.
What did you actually do?
Well, I just hurt my arms and my legs. And I work in environments now where I see women doing similar things, and I'm able to understand completely where they're coming from. And in a way, by being out in public, they supported me, although they weren't aware just how much healing they were giving me, and it carried me through.
Rule number 3, serve.
You were struck first by the hospices, weren't you?
Yes.
What particularly, when you first went into one, what did you sense about it?
I'd always been led to believe that it was possibly an unhappy place because patients went in there and not always did they come out. So it was fascination on one side and concern on the other. And certainly after I'd been around the first ward, I remember it so vividly, I was struck by the calmness coming out of the patients in their bed. And most of them will have gone by now, obviously. And it was confronting their illness. They were so brave about it and made me feel so humble. I feel underdressed. No, I don't. You sit down. Is this for me? Oh, yes.
See you in the flesh?
In the flesh?
Well,
don't look too near, you might get a shock.
I've seen enough photos of you.
Oh, no, there's too many of those.
Rule number 4, do what you love.
How did you actually come to be at the kindergarten in the first place?
Well, it was through friends. I wanted to teach children, and they said, why not come along? So I first started off doing afternoons, and then I took over the mornings and did whole days. But I only worked 3 days a week at kindergarten, and the other 2 I looked after American baby boy, which nobody seems to realise. It was very special to me.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, be grateful.
You see, I've got 2 very healthy, strong boys, and it's not always the case with the families I'm meeting through Dr. Bernardo's, and I realise how incredibly lucky I am. And I don't know how I could cope if I had a child that was handicapped or mentally handicapped in some way. So for me, I'm going out there to meet these children, and I'm learning all the time and trying to understand, trying desperately to understand how they cope.
Rule number 6, empower others.
Isn't it normal not to be able to cope all the time? Isn't it normal for women as well as men to feel frustrated with life? Isn't it normal to feel angry and want to change a situation that is hurting? Perhaps we need to look more closely at the cause of the illness rather than attempt to suppress it. To accept that putting a lid on powerful feelings and emotions cannot be a healthy option. That to offer women the opportunity to explain their predicament sooner could be a far more effective use of limited resources, rather than wait until their strength to survive has been sapped. As long as the real reasons for their problems go unnoticed and unattended, they will continue to pass on to the next generation their disability. If we, as a society, continue to disable women by encouraging them to believe they should only do things that are thought to benefit their family, even if these women are damaged in the process, if they feel they never have the right to do anything that is just for themselves, if they feel they must sacrifice everything for their loved ones, even at the cost of their health, their inner strength, and their own self-worth. They will live only in the shadow of others, and their mental health will surely follow. But if we can help to give them back their right to fulfill their own potential and to share that with their family, children or friends, maybe fewer women would find themselves living a life that is bleak beyond belief.
Rule number 7, commit fully.
You are developing your own interests and your own specialization.
Yes, but that's taking time because I don't want to dive into something without being able to follow it up. Nothing would upset me more than just being a name on a top of a piece of paper and not showing any interest at all. Hopefully the organisations I'm involved with see me 2 or 3 times a year if the times, I can do it, I can fit it in. I just long to help in all sorts of areas.
Rule number 8, always keep learning.
You've also taken up the deaf.
Yes.
And you're learning the deaf and dumb sign language.
Well, I'm trying. I'm pretty hopeless at that, but I think it's important to show them that you're interested and you're not just breezing in and out, having seen them for a morning. I've got all my senses, and they haven't. They're missing 1 or 2, and I'm learning how they adapt, or if they've been deaf and dumb since birth, how they cope and how they deal with the outside world who don't always want to know about them, perhaps.
And do you practice the language? Does the prince help you with your lessons?
Don't know if he'd understand.
No, I know one, and that's
That.
H.
H.
And you know why? Because when I had my tonsils out when I was very small, I had a night nurse who was called Sister Hicks. She always used to come in and say, Sister Hicks. So I always remember that. It doesn't get me very far, I'm afraid, in my conversations with the dead still. But I shall look forward to her teaching me.
Thank you.
Rule number 9, be selfless.
Those women who have taken on the heavy burden of attending to others need also to be attended, not just for their own sake, but for the good of us all. Health and happiness taken at the cost of others' pain and suffering cannot be acceptable. Women have a right to their own peace of mind. Each person is born with individual qualities and potential. We as a society owe it to women to create a truly supportive environment into which they too can grow and move forward. But if we are to help the quiet, desperate lives lived behind closed doors by so many women, they need to know for certain that they are not alone, that real support and understanding is there for them.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is be supportive.
I feel my role is supporting my husband whenever I can, and always being behind him, encouraging, and also, most important thing, being a mother and a wife. And that's what I try to achieve. Whether I do is another thing, but I did try. It is sometimes argued that addicts bring their problems on themselves. But I've noticed that those, such as Turning Point, who have first-hand knowledge of what these problems really are, seem less inclined to pass judgment. Instead, I suggest that we consider what part we can play in the fight against addiction, whether as a parent, a friend, a colleague, or an employer. I know that today's conference will concentrate on drug and alcohol problems, but I should also mention Turning Point's work in the field of mental health. As more mental patients leave hospital to join the community, there will be increasing demand on Turning Point services. The charity's 3 mental health projects help ex-patients make the transition from the institutionalized life of a mental hospital to a more normal existence in the outside world. For people who have been in hospital for as long as they can remember, learning to fend for themselves can be a frightening experience. Even the simplest tasks, such as understanding money or using household appliances, may have to be learned from scratch. This is an area of growing demand, and Turning Point has received many requests from local authorities to extend its services for the long-term mentally ill. Mental health, like the problems of drug and alcohol misuse, does not easily attract public sympathy. There are many charities which campaign for more appealing causes. In overcoming this disadvantage, Turning Point has developed an initiative approach to its work, typified by this joint venture with a major brewery. I believe that Whitbread and Turning Point are to be congratulated for their initiative, which is just one example of the charity's strategy of building a strong partnership with industry and business to help fight drug and alcohol problems at work. Now in its 25th year, Turning Point faces greater challenges than ever before. Its partnerships with government and industry offer much hope for the future. Conferences such as today's will, I'm sure, make valuable progress towards the elimination of drug and alcohol problems at work. But just as Turning Point believes these problems must be tackled on a painstaking and individual level, so we, in turn, must recognise the part that individuals can play in caring for all the casualties of our society.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag Believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. To see the top 10 we did on Oprah Winfrey, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
There is no such thing as failure. Failure is just life trying to move us in another direction. Do the work that comes straight from the soul of you.